I did my master's in computer technology here in Chicago at Eastern Illinois University. And I do blog for dbanuggets.com. I usually blog about SQL Server topics, mostly about like currently I'm writing blog series on Azure SQL fundamentals, and I have written a in-depth series for Query Store, like how you can use the Query Store, and it's basically like 200 to 300 level blog series, I can say. So if you are interested, look around for for those series. And if you are on Twitter, DBA Nuggets is my user ID. And if you wanted to get in touch on LinkedIn, just type my name, and it would be an honor to get in touch with you. Or you can also email me. My email address is right below. So when we talk about the SQL notebooks, like I have no idea what SQL notebooks are, like couple of months ago. So how do I even came to know about SQL notebooks? So I joined in Fortune top 100 companies a year ago. And then uh, when I joined the new company, like the environment is completely new, right? So we used to get the audit request very frequently, like every week, 2 to 3 times a week. Like in my previous company, I do not have that issue, but the new company, we constantly receive those audit requests. So the current existing procedure that they have in place is to like create a Microsoft doc and like explain like what steps we need to go through. Like the first step is to like go ahead, and if they ask about this kind of request, just go ahead and grab the query from this particular folder and this location, open that SQL file in your management studio, run that particular query, take the screenshot and paste it in a different Microsoft doc. Like we need to create a new Microsoft doc, put the screenshots over there, and also I need to make sure I copy all the results of the query into a different Excel file. So there is this a different Excel file that I have to create, a different Microsoft doc that I have to create, and place all the queries that I executed along with the screenshot, including the timestamp, like going into the calendar, and I need to take the timestamp as well, because the auditors just wanted to know like the time that I have executed the query, and they wanted to see the results as a screenshot. So look at how many components I need to add for a single audit request. If I receive any audit request through the email, let's say like just we need to grab these kind of requests, like what are the users that are in the particular databases in this particular server. I have a separate document that I need to follow and create two more additional documents, attach all these documents to the email and send it over to the requester. If this is once in a while in a month, that's fine, right? But if it is very frequently, like I have to do it in every couple of times in a week, it gets tedious. And I have, as a DBA, I have to do several other things, right, to take care of my service. So I have troubleshooting problems as well. So I have been thinking like what can I do to solve this particular issue? And that's when I came to know there is something known as SQL notebooks. SQL notebooks are something like they are similar to the Microsoft Docs, but also you can actually save the code like in the form of like code cell. You have text cell where you can write the words to save the documentation, like you can document things in the Word format, just like the Microsoft Doc. But additionally, you can also type your code, save your code, and execute the code within the same cell, like within the same SQL notebook. So once you execute the results are also saved in the same SQL notebook. And once they are saved, right, you can save the document. And once you open the saved document, the results are there. So what you can do is like you can share that document with the requester, or you can automate it so that he can directly receive the email instead of you attaching those documents to the email and send it over to him. The results will be in the same SQL notebook format where you can share it everywhere. You can upload it to GitHub along with the results and everything. Like it will make your life easier for documenting things, for sharing your code with the other developers, for troubleshooting the performance issues, and creating the troubleshooting documents. where you can use it um, during like if you are on call, if the other DBA is on call, and if you receive a call in the middle of the night, all they have to do is like they can pull up this SQL notebook and then execute it because they have everything in place, code, text, everything in place. So it is very useful. There is no more need of copy paste, copying the copying the SQL file, executing it in the management studio. There is no use of any of those anymore. You can save everything in a single SQL notebook. So we are going to see like the example that I used here. Personally, I used SQL notebooks for the auditing purposes, but it doesn't stop there. You can use multiple scenarios. Like you can do it for the documentation. You can share the code with the other developers or DBAs. You can review the code, and you can solve the issues as well. Like if the other DBA is not like uh, were unable to like troubleshoot any problem, you can review his code, change the code, and then save it and send it over to him so that he can run on his server. So it really helps. It makes things simpler. So we are going to talk all about it today. So as an overview, we are going to see what are these Jupyter notebooks. Basically, Jupyter notebooks are nothing but the collection of the SQL notebooks together comes under the Jupyter notebook. And we have something known as markdown text. We are going to see that. I'm not going to talk more about the markdown text because there are the other ways where you can go ahead and create the SQL notebooks in a simple way. We are going to talk about that. And we are going to see the benefits and what are the usage scenarios and what are a couple of the limitations that we have with the SQL notebooks. The first thing that we need to create the SQL notebooks and use it is to download the Azure Data Studio, which is like an open source tool. You can download it on any like Mac and the Windows, Linux. You can download this tool. So what is SQL Notebook? Like in the first slide, I told a couple of things. So we have these code cells where you can type in the code. Not only the SQL, but there are different languages that you can use. We are going to see that in the demo. You can also create the text cells where you can document the things using the markdown text and the other ways. So you have this executable code where you can execute it. You can execute the SQL notebook all at once, or you can execute one cell at a time. You can use it for the documentation, sharing with others, and the other advantage that you have by using the SQL notebook is like adding visualizations. You don't have to do anything. There is like a little tab over there. Once you click it, you will see the results in the visualization format, like a graphical view format. Now, why is it useful? Like, why is this feature useful? Let's say you are going to prepare a presentation with the end users. The users that are listening to your presentation are the business users. They do not have any idea about the SQL code that you are running against SQL servers, but they want to see the patterns in the data, like how the data is looking like, what are the patterns, right? So they don't need any of the code. It gets confusing. So all they want is like the pattern and look as a visualization format. In that scenario, you can directly create your presentation in the SQL notebook format instead of using the PPT presentation like this. Instead of using that, you can directly use the SQL notebook and share the results with them, show them as you go. It is very useful in the for analyzing purposes. You can add pictures, GIFs, everything. And there are certain kernels. Kernels are nothing but the languages that you can use in SQL notebooks. And the one little uh, like the keys that you need to remember while using the SQL notebooks is Control Shift P. So once you use Control Shift P, it will open up like what do you want to create? Do you want to create a Jupyter notebook? Do you want to create? It's like a search option. Like, do you want to create a SQL notebook? Like these are the kernels. Like I'm directly going to show it to you in the demo directly. So let's talk about the benefits later, but let me go ahead and share my screen for the demo. So once you download the Azure Data Studio, like you can you can pin it to the taskbar and you can right click and directly go to the Azure Data Studio. Once you open up the Azure Data Studio, you will see this. Let me close this. You'll see this new bar. You can directly connect to the data sources like the SQL Server and the other connections. You can create a new query and then connect to the SQL Server, or you can create a SQL notebook, new notebook. So once you click on the new notebook, you can either click it this way, like you can either create this way, or you can like use Control Shift E, like we discussed, where it will show the search bar where the first one is like new notebook. Once you click that, a new notebook will be appearing. So there are like code cells and the text cells that I showed you, right? So once you click on the code cell, you can directly go ahead and write your code here and then go to the select connection and then the change the connection here so that you can connect to the SQL Server. But instead of me typing in front of you and wasting time, I have already created a SQL notebook to make it simpler. So let me close this. Um, let me just minimize it just in case. And then let me open the existing SQL notebook that I created. Not that one. Yeah, this is the one. So as I told you, like there is um, you can just expand this and you can see the code cell as well as text cell. So once I create the text cell here, right, I have typed something over here. So what if I want to edit this one? Just there is this pencil bar over here. Click on that one so that you can go ahead and type. So it's just like the Word document. You can go ahead and highlight. If you see here, I highlighted, and then just like the way you do it with the Word, you can again. You can use the italic, bold, underline, and then you can highlight it. And if you want to change the paragraph format, right, you can use it in the heading. You can use the subheading, similar like the Word document. So I have typed something here just to show you, like we are learning about we are learning about the SQL notebook here. We can also attach the pictures. If you see here, I have attached something known as all-in-one. If you are an Indian, you definitely know about this, and especially if you are a South Indian and from Andhra Pradesh like me, um, you know this book already. Like when you studied in your school, we used to have these all-in-one notebooks where we have all the subjects in place like mathematics, science, English, social studies, everything in a single notebook. So why did I even add this picture to this SQL notebook, right? So I just want to compare things. Let's say that each and every subject, like English, Hindi, mathematics, and other subjects, as the kernels. Kernels are the languages, right? So all these languages, like kernels, if you create them as a SQL notebook, these SQL notebooks as a collective, as a collection, is known as Jupyter Notebook. So let's say like all-in-one book itself is a Jupyter Notebook, and the subjects in it, like the SQL, which is like say English, like you have created a SQL notebook in the language English, and the next SQL notebook in the language Hindi. So those are the SQL notebooks, and as a collection of all of these kernels of the SQL notebooks, they come under the Jupyter Notebook, which is an all-in-one book, just for the comparison. And then you can edit, you can bold, you can highlight everything that you can do with the Microsoft Doc. You can do the same. Now here, if you see, I have added the code cell here. So once if I wanted to just add it, let me explain this one. So very simple query. Select top 10 star from sys databases. So we are connecting to the master database, right? Sys databases is in the master database. We need to query master database. So I have written the query, but I did not make any connection to the SQL Server. How do we make connection to the SQL Server? Right? You can go ahead and make the connection, change the connection. But before changing the connection, I talked about the kernels, right? So where can we see the kernels? Kernels are the languages that you can use And these are the languages that are supported in Azure Data Studio: SQL, Spark, Python, and PowerShell. You can use all of these languages. And let me tell you that you can use you can go ahead and create the code cell, right? And then change the code cell to, let's say, Python. It is changing. Currently, it is changing. So after a couple of minutes, like couple of seconds, it will change to Python, right? And then I can write the Python code. But then if you see here, there is a SQL code. So now as I'm in the Python, like if I run this cell, will it succeed? It won't succeed because we are in the kernel Python. So we need to change back that to SQL kernel and then execute the code. So you can actually mix and match the kernels, like the different code cells with the different kernels within the single SQL notebook. But then the problem where it comes is like when you click run all, right? You have the ability to run all the code cells at the same time by hitting run all. But once you hit run all, the first code cell, which one you created in which format, like let's say you have created in the Python, and you have it in the SQL here. You need to go ahead and manually change that to Python before running run all. And the first code cell will run fine, but then the next one will fail because you need to change it back again. So it is not suggested to use different type of kernels within the single SQL notebook unless you are running the um, single code cell at a time. But if you want to run it all and make it as an automated from your jobs, or if you are creating a PowerShell SQL notebook and parameterizing it, it is not suggested to mix and match the kernels within the single SQL notebook, but it is suggested to create a separate SQL notebook, like a separate notebook for single kernel. So let's make a connection to the SQL server. Let me change the connection here. So here I'm going to connect to the local server, and then the database that I wanted to connect. Um, so database, I want to connect to the master database here. So you can create a server group, basically creating a group, like it's like a collection of the SQL server. You can place it in a single group. You can name that group, but I don't want to create any group right now because I just have one server, local server. So I'm just connecting to the local server here. Again, you can connect to the you can connect to the Azure SQL database as well, Azure as well. So here I'm connecting to the local database. Now I can go ahead and run this single cell. So once you run this cell, you can see the results, right? It's just like you're running a code in Management Studio, you see the results in the table format. But if you see these options over here, the first one is you can save it as an CSV file. The next is Excel file. You can save it and export and send it to other people if you want. And then you can save it as a JSON format, XML. And the option that I told you that we can also visualize the results in a table, in a graphical view format. It's this. So click on that to see the same results in the graphical view format. This is not much interesting here, but I have a demo to show you on the COVID analysis that I did to show how the data patterns look like and how you can make the like how can you predict the data by looking at the graphical view format. If you want to go back to the table format, just click on the same thing to go it back to the same format. So now this is just an example of like how we can actually create the code cell and the text cell. So what are the uses of the SQL notebooks? Like you can share with the other people along with the results, right? And then the best way to like sometimes like you can also change the data by using the SQL notebook. You can actually clear out the data, you can delete the data, but then the best thing that the advantage that we have to while cleaning up the data and using the SQL notebooks is like you can do the select before doing the delete and then save the results and then delete the data in the next code cell. But then don't go ahead and run the previous cell, like selecting the data over again after deleting, because it will always grab the updated data. So to get that history of the data, what you have actually, um, what did you do before making a delete? Like if your manager want to see, hey, to trust what you did, can I get a documentation of what you actually did? What kind of data did you delete it? You can first select the data, run that cell, and then go ahead and run the delete data so that you can show like how many records have been updated, deleted, and how the data used to look like before deleting. And you can save that and then you can share it with your manager. That's one of the advantage as well. Code reviews, auditing, and for the demo purposes, like I said, you don't have to create the presentation. You can also do the presentation by using the SQL notebooks, because you can also save the text cells as well as the code cells. You can do the demos as well in the same SQL notebooks. And some of the other things that I have to mention here are, if you see here, this is the code, right? Let's say you have a huge store procedure that you have written here and you want to collapse that. There is an option here, if you see on the top of it, right side, um, there is an option. The first one is to collapse cells. So once you click on that, if you see here, select top 10 star from sys databases, observe that. And now I click that, it will minimize the code. Very simple. And you can expand it immediately by clicking on the same thing. And then now we executed this code, right? But what if you wanted to share your SQL notebook to your other developers or DBAs or anybody else, like your friends, but you don't want to share your results? You can actually clear out the results and just share the code within your SQL notebook. So how do you do that? The second option here is to clear the results. By clicking that, you can actually clear the results. And the third one is like trusted. I'm not much familiar with this one. Like I believe it is something like you're like you are trusting this. I'm not really familiar with this option. I have to find that out. But the next option is run with parameters. Um, like I believe that you cannot do parameterization with SQL notebooks currently, but you can do parameterize by using the PowerShell, Python, Spark. And in this session, we are going to see an example of how you can parameterize um, a Python code. I will show a very simple example later down the session. And then the next option is to export the SQL notebook as the SQL. So let's say you have this SQL, you have this notebook, right? You can click this option to change this notebook into .sql file. So once you click on that, the same exact SQL notebook will be changed to the SQL file. So you can just go ahead and copy this one or save it in the .sql format and open it in your management studio, and you can run there as well. So as I changed this one, right, as I changed it into the .sql format, I still have my original file here. It just created an additional .sql file. So I want to close that one out. So those are some of the options that we have, right? So let me go ahead and share my um, this one, the COVID-19 data analysis. Um, so let me share and let me show you something else before moving further. So how do we see all of the connections that we did to the SQL server, right? The first option left side of your screen, it's a server symbol, which shows the connections that you have, right? The previous connections that you made. You can simply go ahead and click and you can directly go ahead and connect here, make the connections. And you can see all of your SQL notebooks that you have here. I'll go ahead and talk about this Jupyter notebook later down the session, right? And then you can also do certain source control. I'm not going to talk about the source control in this session, But then you can also add the extensions. You can download the extensions. There are a couple of like pretty good free extensions here where you can go ahead and automate your SQL notebooks by using the SQL agent job. I'm going to provide a link of how you can do that. There is this wonderful YouTube video by Tayo Bali. I'm going to show that later down the session as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the the COVID-19 data analysis. So what I did for this demo is like I went ahead and grabbed the data, the raw data from the uh, like World Health Organization. That's the live data. They have certain repositories in GitHub. So I downloaded that. All they had is the Excel files. So I have downloaded those Excel files and I imported into my SQL server. Let me show you. So this is my local system. So if I show you the databases, here is the COVID database. So all I did was like create a new database and imported the Excel files into the tables. So if you see the tables, these are the Excel files. Those are the raw data. I made certain modifications because there are a lot of errors while importing. I made some changes and I finally able to import all the data. So what I'm doing currently is I'm running an analysis on this particular database and I'm running the queries against these tables and show you how the data look like in the visualization format. Just an example of like how we can use the SQL notebooks, not only for the analyzing purposes, but also for the documentation as well as like um, if you are doing any scientific research. So basically, these notebooks are actually used by the data scientist while they are analyzing the data, but it is not limited to data scientists. Developers, DBAs can also use these and take the advantage of SQL notebooks. So I placed my citations before beginning because this is like my analysis, right? So instead of like telling everybody in the workplace environment to take the vaccination forcefully. I just created the data analysis just for my demo to just like share this document with the other employees so that they can analyze the data, see by themselves and decide if they have to take the vaccination or not. Because clearly this analysis will show like what is the impact what if not taking the vaccination versus taking the vaccination, what are the effects. So I have placed the citations and I cited the source data like GitHub repo. And then I have mentioned like what is COVID-19. Like I said, you can add the GIFs, right? You can add the pictures. So like what are the membranes and all. So right now, I'm not going to execute each and every code because I also did some of the data cleansing later down the SQL notebook, this SQL notebook. So if I run, the data will be changed because I have saved this data before deleting the data. So I just want to show you how the data looks like. So I have grabbed the top 10 counties with the most COVID cases. So these are the countries actually. So if you see, I can see the results in the table format, but it's not much interesting here. If I see in the graphical view, you can easily see the trend. Like Africa is on the top list, and the second top list is Argentina, and the rest of them are here. Like you can see the trend, right? The next one is to find like based upon the continent. What is the information on COVID vaccination based upon the continent? So if you see the results over here, the total vaccinations available are like in Asia, the vaccinations that are available are too many when compared with the other continents. But then if you see the population in Asia is less than the number of vaccinations that are available in Asia. So there are more than available vaccinations. It's just that people have to go ahead and take the vaccinations, right? And then people who got partially vaccinated. So this is a population, and these many people are partially vaccinated. And people who got two doses, like there is a booster shot as well, right? So people who got fully vaccinated are these many people. And if you see the rest of the countries, it shows the trend, like what are the vaccination, how many people are available, what are fully vaccinated people, and then partially vaccinated. It's like you don't even have to go to the results, right? It's boring here. And then the next is to analyze the data within United States per state. So I grabbed all the states, including the entire country. So if you see, these are the like y- these are like looking negligible because we grabbed a lot of data. So when you are using SQL notebooks and you have like millions and millions and millions of rows to grab, it is not suggestible because sometimes your Azure Data Studio can blow up and it might get stuck. So it is not suggestible to retrieve so much of data. It is for like data cleansing, but then it's for the documentation and the rest of the um, you can take the advantage in the other ways, but not for the retrieval of millions of records. But then here I grabbed, just for my demo, I just grabbed all the states here. But if you see the trend, the total number of vaccinations that are available and partially vaccinated, like in the previous query, we have seen the same thing, right? But here we are grabbing all the states. Next, this is very interesting. We have taken just the California state, and then we have grabbed the results by querying this particular table, right, from the database. Let me expand that. So here, what are the unvaccinated cases in California and what are the vaccinated cases here? If you see, that is negligible, right? And then unvaccinated cases versus vaccinated cases in the state of California. This is a this is a little bit different information that we are grabbing here. So um, the unvaccinated people who got hospitalized versus vaccinated people who got hospitalized in the state of California, unvaccinated deaths versus vaccinated deaths. Uh, I really don't mean to, cause you like depression by looking at these results, but then I thought like my analysis needs to contain this raw data information so that the people who see this will actually realize how important it is to take the vaccination. So if you see the trend, you don't even have to go to the table, look at the trend, unvaccinated deaths versus vaccinated deaths. And then what are the manufacturers doing? Like how are they doing? Like which company is doing better than others? Again, I grabbed the results from this table, total like from this manufacturing like vaccinations by manufacturer table. And if you see, the Pfizer is number one company which is doing better, and then Moderna, and then the other AstraZeneca and the other brands. And the next is like while the World Health Organization grabbing the data, they did certain interviews on in every single state and the county within United States, like asking people like if they wanted to wear a mask when they are outside of house in within like within like certain feet of distance from the other people. And there are these beautiful wonderful counties who said like yes, we always want to wear a mask. And these are the top 10 counties within United States. If you see, the it includes the county name as well as the state name. If you see, these are the top 10 counties. And there on the other side, on the other hand, there are also 10 counties which said like we don't want to wear a mask whatsoever. And those are this. Again, I didn't change any data. This is the raw data. I didn't made any modifications. So these are the top 10 counties. Okay. And then I made sure like how to wear a mask. Many people doesn't know. So I put a GIF here, sorry. And then you can also use the SQL notebooks for the data cleansing purposes. Like I said, before making any change, grab the data what you want to change, right? So first I grab the data. So why did I even do data cleansing on the raw data that I grabbed from World Health Organization? Because I felt the data that I grabbed is like kind of weird. I didn't feel like to include certain information in my analysis. So let's see what kind of data I felt it's so weird. So when I grab the top 20 locations and the cases, the number of cases here, if you see the total number of cases in different countries, I saw something weird like high income, upper middle income, low income. If you see here, the blue one says like upper middle income. And then there is also somewhere else like low middle income. If you see here, somewhere it should be somewhere here. So I felt like life is a life and it doesn't have to depend upon the financial data, like financial, like what is the financial status of a person, right? Life is a life. So I don't want my analysis to include that information. So I thought of deleting that data from the actual parent tables. So what I did before doing anything as a DBA, I need to grab all the information from those three categories, right? High income, upper middle income, and lower middle income. I grabbed and I saved it in a different table. And then these many rows were affected, 2,175. And then I went ahead and deleted the data. If you see the results, like what it is capturing and what it is saving inside this SQL notebook, 2,175 rows affected. So now if I go ahead and update this, right? If I go ahead and run this, the data will be changed here. So the information that is being shown will be changed. So I don't want to do that. I just want to save this data to share with the people, like to the management of like how I did, what data did I delete. And if I deleted the right data, 2,175 and 2,175. Yes, we deleted only the data that we need to delete. Now I went ahead and did a select against the parent table to see all the data is being cleared in the parent table. Yes, it is being deleted. So data cleansing purposes also you can use the SQL notebooks. And as an observation, as you have seen the data patterns, it is very clear that the difference between the people who got vaccinated and ending up in hospital are way less when compared with the people who are unvaccinated ending up in hospital or going through death. The trend is like in the peak when compared with the vaccinated. So what is my conclusion by doing this, right? I concluded like I didn't say anything like, hey, this is my conclusion, you have to take it. I just provided the data. It's up to them to decide what they have to do. But I mentioned here, it doesn't cost you to protect your life, but it does cost your life if you are not protected, is my conclusion. So that's how you can actually use SQL notebooks for the analyzing purposes. Okay, this is just a demo, right? So let's be real. Let's be like, okay, Deepthi, but tell me how I can use this in my real time scenarios. Like I said, for the auditing purposes, I have used this SQL notebooks. A very few examples, like very simple example I placed. So as we receive the request, they provide us like a server name, what database they need like auditing on, and what kind of information they need on the databases. Like let's say they need like server role membership. Just save the code in the code cell and then run it. You don't have to run it. You just have to save all the code cells and just change the connection whenever they want to do the audit. Or you can just create a job on the same server to make it automated. So here the orphan users list, again the query, very simple query, database level information like what all databases and what are the recovery model and what is the compatibility level of those databases. What are the list of logins, login server role permissions, like simple kind of audit information. You can directly go ahead and execute it and produce the result and save this file and attach it to the email and send it to over them send it to them, or you can upload this after saving it, like go to file and save as. Once you save as, right, let me do it on desktop, audit report, and let's say today maybe. So If you observe here, it has actually saved it in JSON format. So it's like you need to save it, save as again, and then save it in the notebook format. To save it in the IPYNB file, because you can save it in different formats as well. If you see here, JSON format, but we need it in the notebook format. So notebook format will always save the files in IPYNB file, if you see here, and then save it. So now it will look like a IPYNB file. Now it got saved on the disk. Now you can go ahead and upload the document, right? So let me open that. Let me close this and let me open my GitHub repo. So this is my GitHub. Let me go to, so this is my GitHub repo. Very simple. You can go ahead and create your own profile here. So go to repositories and then you can create a new repository. Click on new repository and test today. Maybe I just did it like randomly, and then go ahead and create the repository. So you can create the repository and make it public to everybody, or you can make it private, right? Only to share with certain people. So now I wanted to go ahead and upload the existing file, right? I don't want to create a new file. I want to upload the existing file. So once you click on that, choose your files. So we saved it on the desktop. My desktop is messy with lot and lot of files. Audit report today. So let me click on that. It's a IPYNB file again. So it got uploaded. If you see here, commit the changes so that it will upload it to the GitHub, right? So once it is uploaded, you can either share this link to the people. Once you share this to the people, they can directly go ahead to the code and then they can download the zip file. So once they download the zip file, go to the zip file, right? And then you'll see the repository and you have the IPYNB file. If you have your Azure Data Studio downloaded on your computer, you can just double click and open the same file that you uploaded along with the results. If you see here, if you don't want to save, if you don't want to use any of the results, just go ahead and clear out the results and then save it again and then upload it again so that they can only see the code. They don't see any results if you do that. So let me close that one. Let me close this one. What else I have to show you? Uh, yeah, and the other one, like I mentioned, right? You can also automate this process. You can automate the SQL notebooks, like having the code cells in it, and then making sure like that particular SQL notebook will run through a SQL agent job. So whenever you run the SQL agent job to run a SQL notebook, the output of the job will be also saved in the IPYNB SQL notebook format along with the results. So how to do that? So for example, let's say like I have created this particular code, very simple code. I'm connecting to the COVID database and I'm select star from vaccination where location is just United States. Okay. Now, how can we actually execute this particular notebook with the agent job? Now go to the servers on the top left side corner, right? Go to the servers and open up the COVID database, right? So as I connected to it previously, couple of minutes ago, it got automatically connected. It refreshed by itself. Now let me go ahead and right click and go to manage. After going to manage, if you see here, this is just the COVID database and you see all the tables available in the COVID database, right? And you see the home here. But just let's go a little bit backward to the local server here. Once I click on that, you will see this dashboard kind of thing. where it shows you all the databases and what are the sizes in MB. I did not do anything. This is how it looks like when you click on the server level, right? It will show you the backup status and everything. But right now we are focusing on the job that have to run the SQL notebook automated, right? So here, if you see here, um, if you just downloaded the Azure Data Studio, and you will not see this actually SQL agent extension. You need to go ahead and go to the extension, go to extensions here and download the SQL agent. Did you see here SQL Server agent or admin pack for SQL Server? You can download this one. It is totally free. So once you download that one, you will see the SQL agent. I am not actually going to show you like how you can download and like how to create the SQL notebook, how to actually like run the SQL notebook through the agent job, because Tayo Bali has actually gave a presentation like 15 minutes, but it is worth it, to the data exposed with Anna Hoffman. I will share that link with you so that you can go ahead and see how you can actually create the job. But I have created the job, I have executed the job. I will show you how the results look like. So here, um, uh, so this is the SQL agent, right? So I have clicked on SQL agent once you downloaded the agent. So you see notebook for SQL for agent job, audit report, and there is this other default job. Now, where are these jobs coming from, right? If you see the, if you see my server, if you see my jobs, if you see my SQL agent jobs, these are the jobs. Like if I go ahead and create a job over here, I can see it from here as well. It will get automated. Like if I change the job here, it will automatically change here. So right now we are focusing on notebook for agent job, right? If you want to schedule it here, you can't schedule it from the Azure Data Studio. You need to go ahead and make out your schedules from here. But let's see how the data look like. So here, if you see the executions, here green color bars, right? So that represents like how fast the job has executed. Now we are mostly focusing on the audit report. So I clicked on the audit report, right? And then these are like the previous runs, whether they are succeeded or failed. But then I want to go ahead and see the notebooks. Click on the notebooks. So actually, let me see here, all jobs. There should be these executions. Where do I see this? Just this. Okay, let's see like notebook. I believe I did not run that anytime late recently. So let's see the notebook for agent job. Like once you click on that one, you will see the executions. Like even this one. Let me show you the jobs. Um, Even the audit report should actually show me like executions. But let's see the notebooks. It should show in the notebooks, but notebook for agent job. If I open that one, these are the recent runs that I have actually executed this job. So this was the job that I was using for my demos. So the latest run was on 5/31/2022. So once I executed the job, once I run the job, the result will be shown in the format of like SQL notebook. The output will be in the SQL notebook format. And when you open that, it will actually show the results of that. So when you see here, where is it? Local. You can actually create the alerts for this job. If you see here, I did not create the alerts. Like if it fails, you need to get the alert like that. And the operators, like if you want to send the email to the operators when the job has been completed, you can add that here. And if you go to the jobs and edit the job, you can see the steps like name and what are the steps that are there. Like it is executing the notebook, right? By using the PowerShell. And then the schedules, you can create the schedules here. You can create the schedules from the agent job, and you can add the alerts here. It will get populated, and also you can create the notifications, like create the notification, and then you can you can add those notifications here, or you can do the same with the agent job as well from the management studio. So that is being done. Now you know, like you can automate this, and I'm 100% sure, like if you edit the job and make any changes, like change the name of the job here, edit the job. If you change the name of the job, let's say here, and then save, it will automatically get populated here. So vice versa, you can change it here, it will get automatically populated there. Now the last demo that I want to show you is how to um, parameterize this notebook if you are using the other kernels, like not the SQL, but the Python, like PowerShell. Like in this example, we are taking the Python language, Python kernel. So all I did was I'm not much familiar about Python. This is like I have seen online Googling of like basic, very basic code. So I have mentioned like, let's say the A parameter is 1, B parameter is 3, right? And then what I did was like, once I clicked on that, there is this ellipse button over here. Click on that and then go and make it as a make parameterized cell. So basically what you are doing is you are parameterizing this particular code cell. You need to parameterize in order to actually take the advantage of like automation using the parameter values. So make parameterized cell, click on that. So once you click on that, you'll see here the blue one right side your screen, parameters. That means like currently it is being parameterized. And then the next cell you need to create, like what you want to do with those parameters, right? I want to just multiply the A and B, right? And then print the value here. So if I run this one, right? If I run currently, if I run this one, it will, as I parameterize this value, it will check me like, hey, what parameter value you want to choose. But before that, if you are creating this notebook for the first time, please make sure you go ahead and save this, because once you save this, you can go ahead and actually parameterize this value. Like look right side your screen, on the top of the screen, here at collapse cells, clear cells, and the next option that you have is run with parameters. So once you save this file, right, run with parameters, click on that, and then it says like, seeing the value. The first value it is showing is A as 1. So I can change that. So I want to change it as 3. Okay. And then enter. It is asking me the value of B. Let's say 4. Enter. Now, if you see here, I have actually changed the value. So it shows like injected parameters by itself, like what parameters I injected here, the 3 and 4. Now go ahead and run the cells, run all, which will produce the results, the multiplication results as 12. So you can actually parameterize the other languages like Python and Spark this way. So before creating this, there is this one um, something, let me show you the paper mill. You need to download that. So I have provided this actual link, like how you can parameterize the notebook by using the paper mill. So you need to, this is like an extension that, like not an extension, you need to download this Python kernel. So you need to download these values, like install paper mill by running this code. So once you download it, it will show like, yes, this paper mill has been installed, and then you can go ahead and use like parameterized cell. So the prerequisite is to install the paper mill before parameterizing the um, Python notebook. So I have provided this link. Please go through that. And the other thing that I want to mention over here is like, if you see the notebook, right? The Jupyter notebook that I created was like, um, just go ahead and click on these 3 ellipses and then create Jupyter notebook. Once you click on create Jupyter notebook, you can actually give the name and then you can create a notebook, and underneath that you can create the SQL notebooks. But if you want to just import the Jupyter notebooks, just click on here, like open the Jupyter notebook. Like if you click on here, if you know the location of your Jupyter notebook, just click on the folder and then select Jupyter Notebook. It will automatically give all of the contents, like all of the SQL notebooks underneath the Jupyter Notebook automatically. So once I learned about the SQL Notebook, what I did was I wanted to provide a presentation, like give a presentation on Query Store that I have given previously by using the PPT file. But now I want to make a change, like use the Jupyter Notebook to give my presentation. If you see here, that README file is like a default file that you get it. You can write anything in it. I did not write anything in it. But then, like, if you are giving any if you are giving any instructions to the people, you can go ahead and give it there. And the contents. So if you see the contents like all the presentation files I have just imported here. I just copied paste. So these are the contents I wanted to give. What is a query store? It's in another SQL file. I place the kernel as SQL, but I just use the code text cell here. So if you see the benefits and the if you see the demo, I can actually create a demo within the SQL kernel. So what I did was like I grabbed the .sql file and I have placed here. So that is why you are seeing the entire thing in a single SQL file. But if you wanted to divide in different SQL code cells, you can definitely do that. But I didn't have that much of patience, so I just copied and pasted into a different SQL file just like that. So that is the reason it gave a single cell. So I have placed all my demos in a different SQL files. So look at the beauty. Like you can create a Jupyter notebook and you can create the documentation, like let's say the performance tuning documentation. And there are several MVPs out there who like example Aaron Beatran. He actually created a Jupyter notebook um, for the performance tuning. So all you have to do is like go to the GitHub repo and download that Jupyter notebook and then just go ahead and look into the documentation. Like it covers all the scenarios, like how you can actually troubleshoot the performance. And you can also create this kind of documentation along with the code cells and the necessary steps that the DBAs have to take to resolve certain issues during the on call. Like if they receive the call anytime in the middle of the night or anytime, right? They can actually look into these SQL notebooks, Jupyter notebooks, and they can follow along. It makes life easier. So that is my demo for today. Let me go back to my slides again. So what are the benefits that we have discussed, right? Visualization purposes, data cleansing purposes, you can transform the data, you can make changes to the data, and you can automate by using the agent job, or you can parameterize these notebooks. And couple of the limitations, like I said, you can't like select like thousands and thousands, like millions of records at the same time because that might get stuck with the Azure Data Studio. But then the other limitation is the SQL notebook. You cannot parameterize right now, but I believe that will change in the future. I did not check recently whether they have actually made those changes and it is currently available for the SQL kernel, but I have to go ahead and check. And from the references perspective, please try to go ahead and look into that first video, like managing SQL Server agent jobs with notebook jobs in Azure Data Studio, which is given by Tayo Bali for the Data Exposed MVP edition. He's an MVP. And that will give you a clear idea of how you can actually create the notebook, create the agent job, and how you can automate that. And the necessary other references, like what are the references that I used to prepare my presentation? These are the docs, Microsoft Docs I used. And if you like to know more in depth about the other kernels like Spark, Python, um, Julie, Julie from Microsoft, she have given a very beautiful presentation, like more than hour of presentation. I have provided the link down below for the YouTube, like the last link. You can go ahead and check there. Like it gives an in-depth and how you can go to the next level and use these notebooks in the pipelines and such kind of information as well. I didn't cover here in this session. So let me share my intro again where my details are there. So thank you so much, Gavaskar. Once again, I believe I completed my presentation. And if you have any questions, if anybody have any questions, please let me know. And if you wanted to get in touch with me, type by my name, Deepthi Goguri in LinkedIn, or if you are on Twitter, you can follow me. Um, Upcoming sessions, there are several other Azure new sessions that I'm going to prepare. And I'm also speaking at PAS Summit this year. You can know more about those. And the other user group presentations that I'm giving, I'll be updating that as well. Thank you.
Okay, participants, if you have any questions regarding the sessions, you can ask now. We'll unmute you. Yeah.
Yeah. This question is for Deepthi. Deepthi, like as you mentioned, right? I mean, you explained us like once we create the Jupyter notebook, and then afterward you showed us like you put that on Git repository, then you download it and then reopen, right? So
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
like practical scenario, yeah, in the practical scenario, say suppose I created a Jupyter notebook, okay, and if I share it to my colleagues or like my manager,
Mhm.
so if they don't have Azure Data Studio, like what is the minimum things we can have to like have at least glance like to the notebook? Or Azure Data Studio is must to have to open the Jupyter notebook?
Yes, but you can also, let me show you. You can also
Huh,
open that one directly in, oh, let me, okay. Let me show you my GitHub repo. So
perfect. Sure.
this is my GitHub, right? So let me go back a little bit. Um, so let's say SQL notebooks that I have created previously. And see, this is notebook.ipynb file, right? They can directly click on it so that they
Mhm.
can view it here itself on the GitHub repo.
Oh, in the
You
browser
know,
itself,
they
I
can't
mean, it can be
in
visible.
the browser
Okay,
itself. In the browser itself,
got
they
it.
can do that. But then if
Uh-huh.
you see here, it is like a little bit weird here. It is shaking.
Mm, mm.
But
That's
then
okay.
if you see here, it takes some time to get settled and it's a very big notebook. So you can see the results here. It's so
Mhm.
weird. Let me go back.
Okay.
And let me see this one, parameterized value, let's say.
Mhm.
But if you see here, it shows the code, but you can't run the code.
I see. Got it. Yeah, because you don't have a
Yeah.
valid connection to the server, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's the way.
you can't
Got it.
but then if you see here, you can see the results of this COVID analysis exactly the same
Mhm.
along with the results. But you
Okay,
can't
got
just
it.
you can't just change the visualization format and everything here. I'm so sorry it
Got
is
it. Yeah.
being shaky.
No, that's okay. I mean, at least the lightweight version of the notebook can be visible in the browser. That's what I
Yes,
can understand.
yes,
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Dipti. Thanks, and thanks to the multi-cloud
no
team as well for
problem.
organizing this one. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, sure. And I will share
Thank you.
this notebook with you so that you can um how do I share the link?
The
I
top, no?
think it is in
Browser.
chat.
The top you can find it.
How do I
Hello?
expand?
If in the top, no? Browser, you can find the
Oh
link.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yes, yeah. Just you can copy it.
Chat. Yeah, you can actually. And in this GitHub repo, you can also see my other presentations I uploaded and demos, fundamentals of Azure and the other ones if you want to see. So yeah, I hope this session was useful. Any more questions for
Yes.
me?
Yeah, it was very useful. Thank you so much.
No
Yeah.
problem, anytime.
Yeah. Deepthi, I will share the screen so that I will announce the
Sure,
secret.
sure. Let me go ahead and stop sharing.
Yeah. So audience, moving to the key takeaways. So the secret code for downloading the certificate is MJ4B30. So you can click the link which is provided in the chart, and it will ask for the download certificate link will be there in the private dashboard. So once you click the link, it will ask the secret code, and this is a secret code you can provide it over there, and you can download the certificate. That is the secret.